Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. In Switzerland, dozens are dead and about 100 people injured after a fire tore through a New Year's Eve party at a ski resort bar. We hear from officials with the latest. Zohran Mamdani is sworn in as mayor of New York City. The Democratic Socialist took the oath at a historic decommissioned subway station in Manhattan. From Times Square to the streets of London, Madrid, and Rio, millions around the world ring in 2026 with spectacle and tradition. How the world welcomed the new year as the U.S. marks a historic milestone. President Trump ringing in the new year at Mar-a-Largo and sharing his New Year resolution for 2026. And Russia and Ukraine accusing each other of striking civilian targets today on this New Year's Day. The Kremlin claiming that Kyiv killed 24 civilians.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
New York City officially has a new mayor today. Zohran Mamdani is soon to be inaugurated as the first Democratic Socialist to hold the office. Supporters say his victory reflects frustration with the status quo, while critics question how his agenda will work in practice. Our own Chris Bob is at City Hall with more. Chris, good to see you there. Looks like plenty happening already. Walk us through the ceremony. Who else is expected to attend today?
Good afternoon, Stefania. Nice to be on with you. You're lucky you're inside. We're out here. It's about 25 degrees. We have a large lineup around me. I saw Attorney General Letitia James. She just took the riser. She was yesterday at the swearing in of Zohran Mamdani right at midnight in the old City Hall subway station. She's going to be here today, as well as Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They're going to take the stage in about an hour or so and swear in our new mayor, Zohran Mamdani, the first Democratic Socialist to be elected as a New York City mayor, the 111th mayor.
Yeah, sure is a historic day, and all those people out there to witness it, despite that chilly breeze I see blowing across as well. Chris, what are New Yorkers saying about Zohran Mamdani's policies as he prepares to take office?
So Zohran Mamdani ran on the affordability agenda. That's what he called it. And now his slogan is a new era. So some of the promises he made, we're going to see what he kicks off with today to see what he's going to be able to keep. But childcare, universal childcare, fast and free buses, these promises are definitely going to be featured in his speech today. We spoke with a few New Yorkers on our way here. Many people are extremely excited to attend the inauguration. But there are some reservations about whether or not he's going to be able to deliver some of these policies that he's put forward. There's concern that he might raise taxes on certain groups. We're seeing something called the Mamdani effect, where business leaders in New York City are talking about moving to areas with lower taxation outside of New York City, whether that be going to New Jersey or whether that be going down south to Florida.
All right, and let's hear from some of those people you spoke with. Do you have some sound bites for us?
We should, yeah. Let's roll them.
Okay.
I think with a progressive agenda like his, I'm excited to see what he's able to, bring to fulfillment. Really tackling affordable housing, I think tackling the affordability crisis in general, and trying to make this city more affordable so that it's enjoyed by New Yorkers and not just by people that are coming in for the weekend.
I'm cautiously optimistic. Obviously he doesn't have a lot of experience, but if you surround yourself with the right people, you can figure out how to govern even if you don't have the experience.
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm optimistic.
I like the free bus rides. I hope the free bus rides take into effect.
I think free buses are a good idea. I hope they can find the money to finance that. Well, I'd love to see the rent freeze because rent has gone up, as you know, quite a bit here in New York.
I think like the city-funded grocery stores are, I don't know, I don't think it's going to work out.
The idea of doing the city-owned supermarkets is a kind of interesting idea. I'm not sure how practical it is, but it would be nice to see him try it and see what happens. I've been living here 40 years now, and I don't think I've ever seen a mayor actually solve a really entrenched problem. They can make a little bit of difference on the margins of it, but I wouldn't expect him to be able to do any more than anybody else has done that way.
So you heard right there a little bit of pushback on the city-owned grocery stores. The original policy proposal by Zohran Mamdani is one in every borough of New York City. Again, some concerns about whether or not he's going to be able to make that a reality, but there is a lot of hope, a new era, a new mayor. Back to you, Steph.
All right, thanks so much for your report, Chris, and I'm sure we will be monitoring people's reactions as the mayorship sets out and continues this year and further on. Thank you, Chris Bob. A New Year's celebration turned into a tragedy. Authorities say dozens are dead and about 100 injured after a fire in Switzerland. The country's federal president visited the site earlier today.
I came here on behalf of our country out of respect for the families. Our thoughts are with the families who are in anguish. Some still do not know whether their children have died, and we will do everything we can to ensure that everything proceeds as quickly and as effectively as possible.
The president added that he'd like to thank all foreign governments that are showing solidarity. The Swiss leader also highlighted the importance of caring for the wounded and identifying the victims. It's not clear yet exactly how many people died, as investigations are still underway. Here's more on the New Year's Day tragedy.
Police cordons and forensic tents shielded a bar where dozens of people were killed in a fire early on Thursday in the Swiss ski resort of Withdrawn, Montana. Officials say a fire broke out at 1:30 a.m. in a bar called La Constellation in the resort in southwestern Switzerland. The cause remains unclear, but authorities said it appeared to be an accident. The head of security for the Valais canton said some of the victims are from other countries, with a helpline opened for relatives. I cannot hide it from you. We are shaken by what happened last night, the canton's head of police, Frédéric Gessler, said. He said around 100 people were seriously injured, with many being treated for burns. People in the town were visibly shaken and worried for loved ones.
I know someone who might have been among the victims, and I can't reach her. I'm very worried. I'm going to try to contact other people who know this woman to see if she is still alive.
A no-fly zone was imposed over Withdrawn, Montana, and authorities said 10 helicopters and 40 ambulances had been deployed initially. Authorities said they were trying to get the bodies of the victims to their families.
And our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and the families of that tragic event. Moving now to the New Year's celebrations around the world, from Times Square to the streets of London, Madrid, Rio. Millions rang in 2026 with spectacle, tradition, and reflection. Here's a look at how the world welcomed in the new year, with the U.S. marking a historic milestone.
New York City rang in 2026 with a famed Times Square ball drop. Crowds bundled up against the chilly temperatures as the ball, covered in more than 5,000 crystals, descended down a pole. The revelers were treated to a surprise as the ball was relit in red, white, and blue before rising again to mark the start of the United States' 250th year. It was a significant moment for many among the thousands who were there to witness it.
I think it's awesome. We both served the country, so it's special to us as veterans, so it's cool to be here.
Well, our country is strong, and it's amazing that we've been here for 250 years, and we're hopeful to be here for another 250 years going forward.
Happy to be American, proud to be here, proud to welcome people from all over the world.
Across the Atlantic 5 hours earlier, London Mayor Sadiq Khan welcomed in 2026 along thousands of merrymakers by the River Thames. Khan said the city had been working on the celebration for months, with more than 12,000 fireworks, as well as lights and animation. Spectators watched as the iconic London Eye took center stage.
For me, it's just one of my dreams to look at the celebration in this because of the building and the firework together. So it's really excited we just did here. And yes, I just achieved one of my dreams. I'm so excited of that.
And in Madrid, Spain, a unique tradition to ring in the new year. As the clock struck 12 on the Real Casa de Correos, the headquarters of Madrid's regional government, revelers ate one grape for every chime of the bell. Compare that to the more than 2 million partygoers who gather at Rio de Janeiro's famed Copacabana beach. An estimated 15,000 people squeezed into the square.
It's amazing. It's the first time I came. It's beautiful. I can't describe it. It's very emotional.
Rio's New Year's Eve celebration has been officially recognized by Guinness World Records as the biggest New Year's Eve celebration in the world.
And over in D.C., the Washington Monument is putting on a light show as part of a celebration for America's upcoming 250th birthday. Here's a look.
As the nation prepares to enter 2026, the Washington Monument in D.C. took on a different look to honor the 250th anniversary of America's founding. Glowing with images, the obelisk turns into a canvas through a large-scale projection, displaying the trajectory of our nation's development, both past and present.
I wish we have more people here watching this. This is amazing. They put up some great work. Just seeing a projection that high, that's amazing.
The show was presented by Freedom 250, a nonpartisan group launched by President Trump. It features 5 chapters of America's development: discovery, the Revolutionary War, westward expansion, the Industrial Revolution, and modern day and the future of our nation.
And they have George Washington, Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, all of our founding fathers up there that we're so proud of. And I think it's just so exciting to have somebody in the White House that loves America, that wants to celebrate America, and I think we're behind him.
Spectators reflecting on the paths America has traveled.
We came from a squalid little nation, we were settlers, and now we're here, pioneering, greatest country in the world. So I think it's amazing.
And from a world perspective, it's pretty young, but for here, it's pretty cool and pretty exciting. To be this young, to be this powerful, and to be such a world influence is pretty awesome.
The New Year's Eve projection on the Washington Monument is just a prelude to what's coming in 2026. The Trump administration is leading multiple events throughout the year to celebrate America's founding.
I think it's bringing back a sense of national pride. You know, we went through a couple of decades where people were ashamed and they wanted to be sad. Now we're at this point where we want to be prideful about America and what it stands for, what it's done, what we're going to do. So it's 250 years of celebration, but it's like 250 years looking forward. What comes next for our country?
The installation is set to last from December 31st to January 5th, and will be free and open to the public at the National Mall.
President Trump, meanwhile, welcomed the new year at Mar-a-Largo in Palm Beach, Florida. He shared one of his New Year resolutions with reporters.
Mr. President, do you have a New Year's resolution?
Peace on earth. Peace on earth. You can come in if you'd like.
Trump also vowed last night to get to the bottom of an alleged welfare fraud scandal in Minnesota. And he presided over a charity auction, bringing in more than $2.5 million for a painting of Jesus. Several administration officials also joined the celebration, including Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem and U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro. In a statement on Truth Social yesterday, President Trump said he will be withdrawing National Guard troops from multiple cities in the U.S. who are there to improve security. Trump said the National Guard will be removed from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland. He added that crime has been, quote, greatly reduced by having these great patriots in those cities. But he left the door open to sending federal forces in a much different and stronger form if crime begins to soar again. The president also criticized local leaders who have opposed his deployment of troops to the cities. Trump's policy change came after a U.S. Supreme Court decision which ruled that he could not deploy National Guard troops to protect federal immigration agents. And the president is delaying a planned tariff hike on imported furniture and cabinets, keeping current duties in place while trade talks continue. The delay comes under a proclamation tied to national security concerns over foreign wood product imports. The tariff increase, originally set for January of this year, is now pushed back one more year. Meanwhile, the current 25% tariff will remain in effect. The White House says predatory foreign government subsidies on imported lumber and predatory trade practices undermine the competitiveness of the U.S. wood products industry. Changing tack now. Good news for pasta lovers. Italy says the U.S. has sharply lowered proposed tariffs on several Italian pasta makers following a review. Back in October, the Trump administration said that 13 Italian pasta companies would face an extra 92% duty on top of the regular 15% rate on most EU imports from January 2026. They accused two producers in particular of selling pasta at unfairly low prices. After a review, the Department of Commerce cut the tariffs for pasta producer La Molisana to 2.26%, and Garofalo's tariffs were set at 13.8%. The remaining producers were not named individually, and they face a tariff of 9.09%. The Italian Foreign Ministry said in a statement, the move signals that the U.S. recognizes Italian companies' constructive willingness to cooperate. The full conclusions of the U.S. review are expected on March 11th. The U.S. market is worth almost $800 million to Italian pasta makers. Next, Venezuela is the focus of some recent U.S. government actions. The Trump administration yesterday imposing sanctions on 4 firms operating in Venezuela's oil sector. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the move, which also designated 4 additional oil tankers as blocked property.
The U.S. accuses the ships of being part of a shadow fleet serving President Nicolas Maduro's government. The Treasury Department says Maduro's regime increasingly depends on the shadow fleet to evade sanctions and raise cash for its narco-terrorist operations. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said, President Trump has been clear, we will not allow the illegitimate Maduro regime to profit from exporting oil while it floods the United States with deadly drugs. The Treasury Department says it will continue to implement President Trump's campaign of pressure on Maduro's regime. U.S. forces have seized 2 oil tankers off Venezuela's coast and are pursuing another. The government has also conducted a series of deadly strikes on alleged drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean Sea and Eastern Pacific Ocean. Yesterday, Joint Task Force Southern Spear killed 5 people in a lethal strike on 2 vessels it says were operated by designated terrorist organizations. The move was carried out at the direction of War Secretary Pete Hegseth. The government says the vessels were traveling along known narco-trafficking routes and engaged in narco-trafficking. Such strikes on alleged drug boats have killed at least 110 people since early September. Republican Senator Rand Paul has criticized the Trump administration for blowing up boats of what he described as unarmed people suspected of being drug dealers. President Trump announced earlier this month a blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers coming in and out of the South American country. He also demanded that Venezuela return assets that it seized from U.S. oil companies years ago. The actions are part of the Trump administration's months-long pressure campaign on Maduro, who is widely viewed as a dictator, presiding over an authoritarian regime marked by rigged elections, systemic corruption, and widespread human rights abuses. Under Maduro, Venezuela has plunged into economic collapse and repression. According to the United Nations and Human Rights Watch, more than 20,000 people have been subjected to extrajudicial killings during Maduro's rule. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Thank you, Daniel. And coming up, we talk with a philosopher capitalist about the biggest policy moves of President Trump's first year that could impact you in 2026. And in his 2025 annual report, Chief Justice John Roberts urges Americans to keep faith in the Constitution. More details on his year-end message after this. Welcome back. President Trump has made restoring faith a cornerstone of his second term, from establishing a White House faith office to taking action to protect persecuted Christians abroad. NTD's Washington correspondent Mari Otsu takes a closer look.
My life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
6 months after an assassin's bullet almost took his life, President Trump returned to the White House with a bold mission: to restore faith to the heart of American life. He created a White House Faith Office and Religious Liberty Commission to safeguard religious freedom.
My mom realized that this man had actually altered their original plan to stop me from wearing a mask that said Jesus loves me. This goal was violating my rights.
And on the same day as the National Prayer Breakfast, he signed an order to counter what he called anti-Christian bias.
Let's bring God back into our lives.
The president opened his first cabinet meeting in prayer.
Blessed is a nation whose God is the Lord. Father, thank you for giving us this opportunity to restore faith in this country and be a blessing to the people of America.
And launched the America Prays Initiative, urging weekly prayer.
So as we chart our course toward the next 250 years, let us rededicate ourselves to one nation under God.
That vision of bringing God back into American life found one of its fiercest advocates in conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
And let's just say thank you, God, for giving us Donald Trump and giving our country back. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to witness history, the 45th and 47th President of the United States.
Who President Trump credits with helping secure his return to the White House by getting the youth vote. When Kirk was tragically assassinated in September, President Trump called his murder an attack on our entire nation.
September 10th, 2025, our greatest evangelist for American liberty became immortal. He's a martyr now for American freedom.
Posthumously awarding him the Medal of Freedom.
He was assassinated in the prime of his life for boldly speaking the truth, for living his faith and relentlessly fighting for a better and stronger America. He loved this country.
Meanwhile, President Trump extended his vow overseas to protect religious liberty worldwide. On Christmas Day, he ordered airstrikes against ISIS in Nigeria for their brutal attacks on Christians, an issue that rapper Nicki Minaj had highlighted just days earlier during a surprise appearance at AmFest.
While they're in church, people are being kidnapped, people are being killed, brutalized, all because of their religion. And that should spark outrage in the great America. I have the utmost respect and admiration for our president, but he's given so many people hope that there's a chance to beat the bad guys.
And as we welcome the new year, the White House's presidential Christmas message reads, "We pray for an outpouring of God's abiding love, divine mercy, and everlasting peace upon our country and the entire world." Reporting by Mari Otsu, NTD News.
As we set out on a new year, plenty of policy changes in the last year will be in effect. How might they affect you? Joining us to look at your financial plans amid shifts in federal policies and global dynamics is Rod D. Martin, the founder and CEO of Martin Capital. Rod, Happy New Year to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Happy New Year to you, too.
Yeah, let's get started with what looks to be a big year ahead. Congress made several big moves in 2025 that could impact people's wallets. What would you say is the biggest change that an average middle-class family needs to understand, and why?
Well, the biggest changes that will affect people at home in their pocketbooks, of course, are the tax cuts and the regulatory cuts. And the latter doesn't make as much sense to people. They don't really know how all that works. That's okay. If you require things of businesses that cost them money, that gets passed along to the consumer. So when Donald Trump comes through this year, along with Congress in part, and repeals 22 regulations for every one new one, it's actually an extraordinary burden being lifted off the economy. Couple that with the tax cuts, and it is the biggest tax cut bill ever passed in American history, and you end up with real change for regular Americans. And the most interesting is on things like Social Security benefits, taxes on tips, taxes on overtime that are all going away. That's real change for the people who need it most. And it'll also generate a tremendous amount of new business activity that increases the number of jobs and increases the pay that they make.
Yeah, great points you made there, covering quite a large span, as almost everybody will feel it in some way or other. Is there anyone that you think really isn't going to be touched by these changes?
I really don't think so. I mean, this is really broad-based. This will help everyone from the tall to the small. And the taxes on tips thing is the best example. That directly helps working teenagers trying to save for college or help take care of their family. And, Social Security recipients who already paid taxes on that money, they shouldn't be paying taxes on it again, which is just horrifying. And Donald Trump has fixed that. So we're really, really pleased with where this is going, but we're especially pleased with this in tandem with the $18 trillion in new investment that Trump has recruited from foreign countries into the United States. That's really going to take off this year. That's going to be a really big deal by the middle of the year, say June or July. I think it'll affect the midterms. It certainly should, but that's not really the goal. The goal is to make America great again, and you do that by rebuilding American manufacturing, bringing technology back home, doing things to bring good jobs to working Americans.
And right there, retirees, students, others just starting out, so many different people here, as we've been saying. But let's take a look at job prospects, the impacts there, maybe energy bills, small businesses, other ways that people might feel the impact.
Well, energy is going to be fantastic, and it already is. In most states, your gasoline prices are down a lot. Heating oil prices are down a lot. That's only going to increase. And it is true that there may be a little disruption from dealing with the shadow fleet, but not so much in America. We're the world's largest natural gas producer. We are now the world's largest oil producer. We're effectively self-sufficient in these things, even if we choose to buy some foreign oil. So we have an opportunity to really bring down prices, and it affects everybody. It's not just the gasoline in your car. The truck that brings you your Amazon deliveries has to buy that stuff too, and it runs up the price of everything. So as we dramatically increase the amount of offshore drilling, as you see this fourth fracking revolution that is unfolding in West Texas, thanks to the engineers at ExxonMobil, as you see all these things develop and the infrastructure to transport it as well, you're going to see ripple effects through the entire economy that make cost of living significantly better within 6 to 9 months.
And what specific markers would you be looking for? Just the cost of everyday prices, or is there more that you would be keeping your eye on?
Well, again, new jobs is a big deal, but another big deal that has to be remembered from this past year is Donald Trump shut off the flow of illegal aliens, absolutely shut down the border, which is remarkable. And no, the world didn't end. And no, you didn't need a new comprehensive immigration bill to make it happen. You just needed to enforce the law. So everything the Biden team told us about that was just a lie. Okay, what does that do? Well, already we have 2.5 million illegal immigrants who have left the country, about 500,000 of them involuntarily, about 2 million through self-deportation. And what that does is it frees up housing. It brings down the price of housing, and it also transfers jobs to Americans who need them at a crucial time. So in every direction, we're seeing real progress. And some of that is coming through increased defense spending and increased border enforcement spending. ICE now has a larger budget than the entire Russian military. We're almost hitting $1 trillion in defense spending. That's going to increase as we start protecting Americans instead of everybody else in the world, Not that we're pulling back from the world. That's not really true. But as we deploy Golden Dome, which will effectively render nuclear weapons obsolete, as we start spending all this money here to develop weapons systems that defend our allies like Taiwan, like Japan, like Israel, like Great Britain, as we do that, again, great new American jobs at all levels, from blue collar to the C-suite.
A rich picture you're painting here, so many varied parts, but it's all looking pretty good, I've got to say. Thank you so much for your time and your perspective here today. Rod Martin from Martin Capital, great to speak with you, and once again, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
And Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts is urging Americans to keep faith in the Constitution. Roberts released his annual end-of-year report yesterday. He focused on the Declaration of Independence and how the Founding Fathers set up the judiciary to be independent from the other branches. He wrote, "The arrangement has served the country well." Roberts also quoted former President Calvin Coolidge about how Americans could find solace that the nation's founding documents would remain steady. Roberts wrote, "True then, true now." His comments did not reference any recent or currently pending Supreme Court cases. Coming up, Russia and Ukraine accuse each other of striking civilian targets today on New Year's Day. The Kremlin claiming that Kyiv killed 24 civilians. And some tech news. The U.S. grants Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company an annual license to import U.S. chipmaking equipment to its plant in China. I'm Stephanie Cox, and this is World Watch. Russia and Ukraine are accusing each other of striking civilian targets today on New Year's Day. The Kremlin claims that Kyiv killed 24 civilians in an attack on Ukraine's southern Kherson region. A Russian-installed governor in Kherson first made the accusation, saying 3 Ukrainian drones struck the site of New Year's celebrations there. The governor's office released pictures, but only one dead body is visible. Ukraine's military hasn't commented on the accusations yet. Meanwhile, Ukraine accuses Russia of attacking energy infrastructure in several Ukrainian regions overnight. According to Kyiv, Moscow launched over 200 attack drones. Ukrainian officials say Russia also attacked the Odessa region overnight. And Taiwan said today the island is determined to defend its sovereignty and boost its defense in the face of China's increasing expansion. The comments by President Lai Ching-te came just 2 days after China launched war drills named Justice Mission 2025. The communist regime fired dozens of rockets toward Taiwan and deployed a large number of warships and aircraft near the island. The show of force drew concern from Western allies, including the European Commission and Britain. Here's Taiwan's president.
For Taiwan, the most important thing is, as stated in The Art of War by Sun Tzu, rely not on the likelihood of the enemy's not coming, but on our own readiness to receive him. We must make the worst assumptions and also make the best preparations. Therefore, the coming year, 2026, is a very critical year for Taiwan.
And some tech news. The U.S. has granted an annual license allowing Taiwanese semiconductor giant TSMC to import U.S. chipmaking equipment to its plant in China. TSMC said the approval will ensure uninterrupted factory operations and product deliveries. South Korea's Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix have also received similar licenses. The companies previously relied on exemptions from U.S. export controls aimed at limiting China's access to advanced technology. Those exemptions expired at the end of December, requiring new licenses for 2026. And Bulgaria is the 21st country to adopt the euro. Celebrations erupted in Sofia with fireworks and crowds cheering outside the central bank building today to mark this historic moment. A countdown was displayed on the Bulgarian central bank's facade, followed by images of new Bulgarian euro coins and the European Union flag. Bulgaria joined the Eurozone despite opposition from half its electorate. Now, only a handful of countries in the 27-member European Union have yet to adopt the currency. And Finnish police seized a ship sailing from Russia yesterday. It's suspected of damaging an undersea telecom cable. Here's what we've learned so far.
Finnish police have seized a cargo ship suspected of sabotaging an undersea telecom cable between Helsinki and Estonia. Authorities say the vessel named Fitberg was sailing from Russia to Israel when it was intercepted in the Gulf of Finland. All 14 crew members who hail from Russia, Georgia, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan are now in custody. Investigators believe the ship dragged its anchor, possibly cutting a cable owned by Finnish telecom firm Elisa. A second cable operated by a Swedish firm also went down the same day. The incident comes amid growing concerns in Europe over hybrid threats, tactics like cyber attacks and infrastructure sabotage since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. NATO has increased its presence in the Baltic Sea, where 8 member states remain on high alert. Estonia's president says he hopes the damage wasn't deliberate, while the EU said it was monitoring the situation closely.
Coming up in the college football playoffs, the defending champions are out as Miami pulls off the upset. NTD's Dave Martin joins us to discuss. Meanwhile, cities around Europe celebrate New Year's Day with annual events, from a run in central Berlin to a dive into the Atlantic Ocean. We've got that for you and more up ahead. For your sports news, we're joined by NTD's Dave Martin. Dave, there's some pretty heavy news about Anthony Joshua, which we'll be getting to, but first let's start with the college football playoffs. Last night, Miami upset defending champion Ohio State, and all that took place at the Cotton Bowl. What did you make of it?
Yeah, great performance there by Miami, especially in the first half there. They dominated early on, led 14-0 at halftime. Ohio State, though, did make a game of it in the second half. They scored 2 quick touchdowns, pulled the win in 17-14 there in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter. But their vaunted defense was not able to stop Miami late. Hurricanes scored a touchdown with about a minute left, put them up 24-14, sealed it with an interception, and that was it. So Canes won 24-14. Now that 24 points, not a lot, but that is the most Ohio State has given up this season. Okay. Their defense was really that good. So that loss, though, it follows a very familiar pattern. Teams with a first-round bye in these playoffs, like Ohio State, well, last year, all 4 teams that had a first-round bye lost in the second round. So now we're seeing this year, Ohio State had the first-round bye, loses in the second round. So we'll have to see how the rest of the second round goes today.
But do you think games on New Year's Eve or other epic days where energy is surely higher in the stadium, does that impact games, like, in your opinion?
You know, I think the thing that impacts it more is how much time they had off. Like, Ohio State hadn't played in, 3 weeks at that point? Meanwhile, the team that they were playing, Miami, they just played like a week and a half ago. So you kind of lose that rhythm. I think that's part of it.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so we're speaking about the second round. It's continuing today with a triple header. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, first game here, Oregon versus Texas Tech. That one just started. Oregon with an early 3-0 lead there. Now not the Hoosiers. The Ducks, meanwhile, they have a very good offense. The Texas Tech has got a very vaunted defensive front. I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Now, this is at the Orange Bowl, so this is the first game of the day. Then at 4 p.m., the Rose Bowl, we've got Indiana versus Alabama. Hoosiers are the top seed. They're the only unbeaten team left. They're a 7-point favorite over the Crimson Tide. I never thought I'd say those words. Really never did. It was an amazing season by Indiana. Then tonight at 8 p.m., the third game, the Sugar Bowl, Ole Miss versus Georgia. Both teams are 12-1. They did meet earlier this season. Georgia won that one 43-35. The winner of that game will play Miami, as you can see on our board here. Miami with the win yesterday, Georgia, Ole Miss tonight at 8 p.m. As I mentioned here, Alabama, Indiana in the other quarterfinal, Texas Tech versus Oregon going on right now. So that's where we are at in these playoffs.
Okay, plenty going on and to keep an eye on. But we did shadow the tragedy with Anthony Joshua. Okay, so looking now at the boxing scene, he is, of course, a heavyweight contender, but he's been released from the hospital, which was days after that fatal car crash in Nigeria.
Yeah, very
tragedy.
Very sad thing. He was released yesterday afternoon. He'd been there since that fatal accident on Monday. It took the lives of two of his friends, who were also part of his team. One is his strength and conditioning coach. The other was his trainer. Now, Joshua was in the back seat of the car when this happened. Now, a spokesperson, how this happened, a spokesperson for the Federal Road Safety Corps there said their vehicle is, quote, traveling beyond the legally prescribed speed limit on the corridor, lost control doing an overtaking maneuver, and crashed into a stationary truck, end quote. Now, that truck was parked on this side of the road. A state police commissioner told ESPN that the accident happened because of a burst tire on Joshua's car, which caused the driver to lose control. Now, Joshua is British born. His parents, though, are from Nigeria. He actually went to boarding school there when he was, I think, 11 years old. So he was back there anyway. He was just in the United States 2 weeks ago, beat Jake Paul in a match in Miami. As we mentioned, he is the former two-time heavyweight champion. So very, very sad situation there.
Yeah. I'm sure he's getting good medical care, and of course we all are hoping for a speedy recovery.
For sure.
Thank you so much for your time today, Dave.
Hey, you're welcome, Steph.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
And next up, a cyclist in Baltimore is turning lost hubcaps into unique pieces of art. He's found hundreds during his rides through the city, giving him plenty of materials for his large works. And NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on this unique artist.
This large bust of Snoopy the dog is made entirely out of hubcaps. Cyclist Barnaby Wickham is the artist behind the work. He's collected more than 700 hubcaps over the last 2 years riding around Baltimore.
Partway through the year, I was like, what are we going to do with all these things? So that's when I started to think about, maybe we could create some sort of sculpture.
His unusual artwork has drawn the attention of his local community, so residents would give him a heads up when they saw a hubcap he could use for his pieces.
So they would send me a pin on a map by text, or sometimes they would send a photo with the street location.
The hubcaps have also been an opportunity for Wickham to see a side of Baltimore he wouldn't otherwise.
This whole journey has really caused me to get out to a lot of places that I wouldn't necessarily get to, because I get these tips and it's taking me to a place that I've never been before.
As long as cars are losing hubcaps, Wickham should have plenty of material to work with. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And let's continue the new year with the Transportation Security Administration's cutest workers. The agency has unleashed its 2026 Canine Calendar. The annual tradition features 13 of the TSA's more than 1,000 explosive detective dogs. One of them is the winner of last year's TSA Cutest Canine Contest. Steeler, you see him there, is a nearly 3-year-old Labrador Retriever who works at Pittsburgh International Airport. Keep an eye out for him if you're heading that way. The TSA does train about 300 dogs each year in its 16-week-long training program, so there's quite a few to choose from. The canines are deployed at airports, rail stations, and ports. And here's the best thing about the calendar. It's a free download that you can find on TSA.gov. Be sure to do that. And cities around Europe are celebrating the new year with various events. Thousands of runners gathered in Berlin for the annual New Year's Day run there. The 53rd edition of the event pulled in some 4,400 runners. The run began at the landmark Brandenburg Gate and had a circuit of 2.5 miles. For many people, it's about trading in a New Year's Day hangover for the effort and the spirit of their fitness resolutions. It's also a chance to shake off world worries and be in good company. There's no entry fee for the fun run, so if you happen to be that way next year or in another year, take note. But this year's donations do go to a children's hospice. It is a charity after all. And in Rome, Italians plunged into the freezing waters of the River Tiber as they welcomed the new year. The traditional jump from Cavour Bridge has been celebrated on New Year's Day since 1946. The wintry temperatures did not discourage the 3 official divers. A crowd gathered on the banks to cheer them on. This year, 3 unscheduled participants joined the official divers in jumping off the bridge too. That's all we have time for this hour, but if you have any feedback on the show or have something you'd like to see us cover, send us an email at news.today@ntd.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'll cover more news right after this break.
I'm Kevin Hogan, and on behalf of the NTD News Today team, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a joyous holiday season.